Huh. I was fortunate enough to get to play Redfall for free, though I was not paid or sponsored in any way to make this review. I was super hyped for the release of this game. I mean, it's not very often that you get to play an open world vampire looter shooter. Normally I'm an absolute sucker for games like this, but man, they really needed to let this one cook longer. Like, a lot longer. I rarely buy AAA games at launch, and when I do, I'll always wait and check for the reviews for this exact reason. I mean, I didn't even spend my own money on the game, and I'm still somewhat disappointed. I don't run a AAA game studio myself, but I just can't understand the thought process behind releasing a game in this bad of a state for $70 with the promise of fixing it later down the road, whenever really the only thing that matters in the court of public opinion is first impressions. It doesn't really matter how good this game is in X months time on sale for 50% off, since everyone is just going to remember how poorly it was when it launched. You know the saying diamond in the rough? Well, honestly, absolute best case scenario, Redfall would be like a ruby, maybe a sapphire. There's definitely no diamond tier game to be found underneath all the bugs and horrible performance here. The game feels like not only did the developers underperform, but they also half-assed other aspects of development, like with the playtesting and optimization. I mean, they added NVIDIA DLSS, so surely that'll band-aid fix all the performance, right? And all of this was already with a delayed game release. So what's wrong with Redfall exactly? Well, the game's problems range from poor optimization and performance to the game's absolute hot garbage enemy AI to numerous bugs / glitches, and honestly, in my opinion, the core gameplay loop itself. First off, I really want to talk about the open world part of Redfall. I'm going to use this selling point from the game's website, which is really what set my expectations so high for the level design. Redfall is a true arcane experience set in a rich world that blends the familiar with the extraordinary. A rich world is a bit of a stretch here, but okay. Redfall's open world is handcrafted by the master level designers behind praised Talos 1 space station and Dishonored's Dunwall. This line is what had me both excited for and disappointed with the resulting game. From the town's once bustling downtown and the haunted forest to the decimated seaside boardwalk and beyond. You will fight through cultist outposts and supernatural psychic spaces as you piece together Redfall's many mysteries. The only mystery here is where did all the level design budget go? The open world feels barren and largely copy-pasted. Most buildings are blocked off and lacking interiors, plus the way that areas are designed feel really sloppy. Most of the roofs and areas you can explore are just there for the sake of being there. And although it doesn't promise anywhere, there aren't any hidden secrets or loot around the map. If you count the grave locks as secret loot, they're not really hidden unless you count the giant glowy object in the corner of rooms you already have to go through as hidden. Another thing that is really lacking in Redfall is the game's story. The NPCs are there for the sake of it, they rarely talk or interact with each other if at all, and quite frankly I would go as far to say that the only interesting characters are the 4 playable ones. And almost every story cutscene in the game is just a slideshow of still images with a bit of dialogue over the top, so it's even harder to get immersed and feel attached to any character. To make matters even worse, a lot of the game's story is hidden behind readable objects. I don't think the occasional readable lore dump is a bad thing in games, but there's so many objects that you can read ranging from useless bits of background information to a huge wall of text that may or may not be lore relevant or even interesting at all. Honestly, after a while of playing, I couldn't even be bothered with reading them anymore. Here's what I can say about the story in a quick dumbed down version, if you will. Blood experiments gone wrong, evil doctor guy goes mad with power, vampire guys take over town and block out the sun, people go cult mode sacrificing their neighbors and shit, can't leave town so it's time to kill them. Basically about it. Sums up the whole game. The next thing I want to touch on is the repetitive nature of the core gameplay loop. Effectively, the game revolves around you getting a quest to go to a place and grab / do X, then fight some bad guys, then teleport back, get another quest, and then doing that quest after quest until you end up fighting a boss or a special vampire, then you repeat from the top. There were never any changes to break it up, and to me it just feels like a, hey, we made a boring map, here's a boring fetch quest to do over here in order to have a reason to even visit any of the points of interest, and have fun, good luck. Lastly, I want to talk about what makes the game pretty much all but unplayable, at least for me personally. To me, the worst part about playing this game is a combination of the really awful performance and the unfulfilling combat. Everybody has a different standard when it comes to how well a game should run, but for me at least, an average of 60 FPS with frequent frame drops in combat situations with all settings turned down to low, while having roughly the equivalent of the game's ultra specs is just not good enough. So how does this tie into the combat exactly? Well, the combat itself has a ton of problems as is. The two biggest ones are the enemy AI and the way the guns feel to use, but I also hate other little things like how the game doesn't pause at all and the enemies will respawn so you can't even safely leave to take a piss. But to put it simply, even with all the cool and interesting weapons at my disposal, every time I have to fight enemies it just feels like a complete drag because of how janky each encounter is. 9 times out of 10, the cultists that shoot back at you are brain-dead stormtroopers, and on that rare once-in-a-blue-moon encounter, they are complete crack-shot monsters. Most of the time, the vampire enemies are constantly teleporting and leaping at you, being completely useless, which, let me just say, good fucking luck hitting them when it feels like you're playing the game from a toilet in a hotel across the planet connected to your PC via your friend who happens to be streaming the game through Discord. So is there even any potential with Redfall at all? Well, basically, here's how I see it. Give the game some more time to cook, and then buy it on a deep discount or play it on Xbox Game Pass. The game itself is nothing to write home about, but I'm sure after improving the performance and getting rid of some of these bugs, it'll be a solid 6 or 7 out of 10 experience. Thanks for watching this review. If you liked it, or even if you disliked it, consider leaving me a comment down below as I use that feedback to try and improve the quality of these videos bit by bit. Keep an eye out on my community tab if you want to know what/when my next video is, and that's about it. Goodbye.